to the show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Offense Podcast. And this episode of the podcast, I'm going to be welcoming back a good friend to the show. Good friend to all the Dante Collective podcasts, whether it be Columpton, So You Like, or Off the Mats, and then also the host of the Off the Saddle podcast as well. So I want to welcome back to the show, Mr. It's like, all right, Mannuel. We're going to welcome Mannuel back. But I thought about it because I texted you the other day. I was like, yo, Manny Fresh, what's up? And I started, he was like, yo, is it a requirement to call anyone named Manuel Manny Fresh?
I think yes. Like, I wouldn't know. I don't really call anyone Manny Fresh, but I haven't known that many Manuels. But if maybe because I speak Spanish also, if I do know a Manuel, it's Tocayo, which means like same name.
Okay.
So it's like, it's already a nickname. So if there's another Manny, it'd be like, oh, Tocayo, what's up? And it basically means, hey, same name.
So weirdly enough, I know 3 Manuels. That's like, and it just clicked in my mind. I was like, holy shit, I know 3, you motherfuckers. God damn. All right. And each of you are Manny Fresh. you're like gremlins. Threw some water on you. I kept fucking multiplying. I was like, God damn, dude.
It's the Manny-verse. Everyone else is doing it. Why not, right?
Yeah, no shit. It's like, just may as well. How you been feeling, man? What's been going on?
Oh man, from good to bad, right? Let's like bring it down to like a slow ass crawl. Okay, so I have not been doing that well, but I am doing much better right now. But I did kind of have I'm not sure what the word is, relapse, or just, another bout against with my sciatic pain, which kind of, in my case, like when I have my sciatica, it's normally due to throwing my back out really bad. And what's crazy is, like, it's really hard to explain how bad it gets when it's bad, but it's one of those things where, like, imagine literally not leaving your bed for a week or two when it's bad. So that's kind of the position I've been in, where every time it gets bad, it's like, ridiculously difficult just to kind of keep your head up, because you're kind of confined to your bedroom, to your bed. Even you can't even go to the restroom, you can't crawl out of bed, you can't, like during the beginning stages, I can't even turn around from one position to another if I'm hurting. Like, I just gotta just sit there and take it. So yeah, that's kind of what's happened recently, and this last time was a little bit worse than any other time. And yeah, it just sucked ass. It's just a really, really shitty situation. I feel for anyone with problems like that, like, or any kind of problem that puts you out, like, I'm no stranger to injuries, and I can deal with them pretty well. This is just something different because it feels so helpless. And it's super tough.
Yeah, I can't imagine when it comes to the back, just, how helpless that can make you feel. I know my wife had back surgery back in 2010. Steve, who's my co-host over there on Columpton, he's had back surgery once or twice.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, whenever I hear about the back hurt, I hurt my back last week, but it wasn't anything that, put me out of commission. That turned funny. I was trying to do something that was not natural, and I reached, and I was like, oh shit, but it was like a quick twinge, and I was like, okay, I'm good. And then moved on.
That's actually happened to me recently, where I basically threw my back out the way I guess the average person would, or
Hmm.
like I made like a weird movement and I felt it and it got tight and I was like, oh dude, that sucks. And like
Yeah.
I was stiff and I kind of wanted to hunch. Like naturally your body wants to curl a little bit. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And like I, moved around, I stretched, I did some of the movements that I've learned from, having my back issues. And
Mhm.
like it loosened up and I was good. I'm like, oh shit, this must be what it's like for a normal person to throw their back out. When I do it, I gotta be all dramatic about it and like fucking fall to the floor and be carried out and shit.
We went to see my grandparents a few weeks back, and my grandfather has a bad back. I mean, both my grandparents are in their 90s.
Oh
My
man, I can't imagine
grandfather,
anything's really great at that point.
well, it's funny. My grandma moves pretty well. She seems like still well put together. My grandfather,
That's toughness, bro. That's toughness. I promise you, shit hurts.
oh, well, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm certain it does. But yeah, it's like my wife and I were talking about this the other day, and Steve and I also, we all were talking about pains because Steve, I believe, got another shot in his knee recently,
Okay.
and um, I want to say his last one was a year ago, and it should not have been that long. And the doctor was
Mm,
like, how did you make it this far, without any pain, or like how, or just being okay? And Steve's like, I mean, it's kind of, I have some issues here and there, but I'm still able to function. And we got to talking about different types of pains and just tolerances for pain, because sometimes you don't know what something's supposed to feel like, and you just kind of, oh, that's uncomfortable, but you power through it. And then sometimes there's just people that are like ridiculously tough, and it's like they know it's fucked, but they just push through. And like I was telling my wife a while back, I didn't know what an ear infection was supposed to feel like.
okay.
And the thing is, I'd been having them for years. I didn't know what the fuck that was. I was like, huh. I thought it was just a headache. She's like,
Okay.
no, you had an ear infection. I was like, and I almost wonder if it's like, with kids, when they fall down, if you react, then, oh, ow, it hurts, but
Right.
if you don't react, they just get up. And I think that was kind of the case with me with some things where it's like, ow, this hurts, but
Right.
I'll be all right. I'm going to go ahead and go to school because they're not going to let me stay home anyway. So I may as well just fucking power through whatever this is, or, any kind of injuries. So I don't know.
See, my parents were like, yeah, you didn't want to be sick in my house because in the homes I grew up in, they were all pretty much the same. I don't know if it was like a Latin thing or it's like maybe that era of parenting thing where if I was hurt or if I was sick, then that meant like, why are you smiling? You shouldn't be smiling.
Yeah.
Like if I watch TV, why are you watching TV? You should be resting. It's like I've been asleep for
Mhm.
14 hours. Like how I'm not in a coma. Like how much more rest could I get at this point, But they
And
didn't
some of
care.
my foster mom was that way. It's like if I stayed home, yeah, you no, you're not staying home to enjoy shit. Like you sick, you home. Whereas with my grandparents, when I stayed home, it was like, oh, here, let us, if grandma stayed home that day. Usually, though, I was old enough, my grandparents took me in that I could stay home alone. By the legal standards back in the day, I think now you can't stay home alone unless you're 13 or some shit. I'm
I
not
think the
sure.
legal standards in the 80s was like if you were past 4.
Like, oh, it was that old. Um, yeah, I think for my, when I moved to my grandparents, I was 12. So if I was sick, which I believe the first 2 years I lived with them, I didn't miss a day of school. I just went. But once I moved to Maryland, it was like, man, fuck that. I was in the nurse's office taking naps. Like I just wouldn't go to school. It was all types of nonsense. But if I did happen to stay home though, and my grandma, if she was home, it was cool in the gang. She, check in on me, make sure I was okay. But more often than not, she'd go to work as my grandfather would, and I'd be home. And usually I would just play video games, but I knew, once around 3:30, 4 o'clock gets there, turn that shit off, like get under the covers. And they never made a gripe about it though. They were just like, okay, well,
That's
you're sick.
chill. That's chill.
Yeah, my grandparents, like, I My grandparents were really great, but sometimes I feel like I wish they were a little tougher on me just because I came up kind of in like my foster mom when it came to school. Grades were important. You gotta have good grades when
Yeah.
it comes to chores. Do your chores right now. All the normal stuff that the kids of the '80s typically grew up with. But once my grandparents got a hold of me, it was like my grades were trash. It was just like, okay, whatever. I didn't do my chores. Like it was like, they're like, Jake, can you take out the trash? You don't got to do it right now, but it has to be done before you go to bed. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Guess what didn't happen? The trash didn't go
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So
I wonder how much of that was also like now as a parent, like the guilt, like the guilt of like knowing you're not with your parents anymore and you're over here and like feeling like, oh, I don't he's going through a lot. Like, because I know like me personally, obviously, like nothing for my kids, right? Because fuck that. They have a mom and dad, so no excuses, get that shit done. But for like I have nephews and cousins where like I do feel like I do that a little bit more like, oh, like he's already going through a lot or she's already going through a lot. So like, I don't want to add to the load. Where my kids, I'm like trying to add to the load every day, like harder, meaner, tougher.
it's like you're gonna be the best of the best. Like, Dad, we can only carry so many boulders across the yard.
Fuck
Carry
it.
more.
The hell with it. You're gonna be the best of the worst then.
Um,
But you will be the
but
best.
my grandparents, I think part of with my grandparents, what was going on is that they've raised a bunch of kids already, and I think they're just like, look, our job is to make sure that you make it to 18. And once you're at 18, you're because I had three younger brothers, and they took me. They didn't take my other brothers because they were younger, and they did kind of say, we took you because you're older, so it's really going to be you're 12, so you got 6 years. I think we can manage 6 years. Joke was on them. I don't think I moved out. Well, I moved out a couple different times, but I didn't really move out. Like I think I moved out when I was 20, maybe 21.
The
And
Australian move out.
well, like they were still making me dinner.
Oh
So I
wow.
would still show up for dinner and then go back over and party. But there was an issue though in between all that where when I was living with my buddies, they knew I would go back home from time to time, and my grandparents knew I would just disappear from time to time. But there was a night where I actually my car broke down, and I didn't know where the fuck I was, and we didn't have cell phones at the time, so I was like, "Oh shit!" So I flagged down a cop who was in the middle of pulling someone over, and I was like, "Hey man, I have no idea where I am." Da, da, da. They took me to a police station, which ironically enough, I ended up living around the corner from that police station and
Oh,
working right
I thought
across
that
the
was
street
gonna
from
go.
there.
I thought that was going somewhere totally different.
Oh no, no. Hey man, I'm a model citizen.
Okay.
I um but no, I ended up eventually living near that police station like many years later. But I remember the cop, he took me in, just was like, here, like make a phone call. Couldn't find, anyone, couldn't get a hold of anyone. So I ended up getting a cab home. I had no money.
Oh,
So I show back up. I didn't go to my grandparents' house. I went to where I live with my buddies Mario and Charles. And I remember kicking in the door. Like the door, it was unlocked. I just kicked the door open. I had a double cheeseburger in my hand. I flung it like up into the living room. Mario had guests over. I almost hit one of the guests in the head. I was like, I
oh
need money for
Lord.
the cab, dude. Gives me money for the cab. But it was just weird because no one knew where I was. Like, my grandparents, they had no clue what was going on. Mario and Charles thought I was probably back at grandma's house. Meanwhile, I'm in the middle of, Odenton, like clueless. I didn't know what Odenton was. Like now I live near Odenton now. It's like
It's wild how back then there was so many like adventures that were like, I mean, just like in general, there was like weeks, just weeks that you just knew nothing about people. Like, because like a lot of people, especially when I was like already a teenager, didn't really have cell phones.
No.
Like there were some very few ones that had cell phones when I was like 18, 19. But even then, it wasn't like everyone had to have one. It was like starting to become a craze, but it wasn't everyone. And so there was just a lot of people were like, "Oh, have you seen so and so?" No, I haven't bumped into them. Like I haven't literally bumped into them because any other way, you're not going to their house. And
No.
if you're gonna call their house, it'd be for the most part, it was kind of weird to call someone's house. Like for me especially, like you were either already talked about it, like at school, like, "Hey, I'll see you here," and then you'd go. But it wasn't like you'd call them like, "Hey, do you want to go to the whatever?" No, like it was, especially in high school, it was like you show up to their pad and be like, "Hey, so and so here." No, well, fuck it, let's go to park.
Our phone calls back then were just limited to things like that, like like, yo, what's up? What are you trying to do? There are never any phone conversations that took place. But they're definitely like, that was really our only means of communication for a minute. I remember I got a call from my buddy Charles, who I mentioned earlier. So a fight didn't happen. Someone got jumped. I don't know who the fuck the guy was that got jumped, but I get a call from Charles saying, "Yo, you want to fight?" And Charles is my best friend. I says to Charles, I mean, I don't got no static with you, but we can do it if you want. But
You
he was
misread
like,
the room.
he, he was like, no, motherfucker, not me. In all honesty, he would have fucking murdered me. He was a fucking barbarian. But that's how our phone calls went. And he just happened to catch me when I was home because, like, I
Right.
think the time that he called, I think I was about to go out somewhere else, and he calls like, "Yo, you trying to fight?" I was um, like, why? I don't want to fight you, but I mean, we can. It's gonna suck, but yeah. But
No, do you remember the fear of like calling a girl, especially if it was like the first time, like
oh
maybe
yeah,
13, 14, and you're like calling a girl, like that was like, please answer, please answer. Like you didn't want any adult to answer.
there was this one girl, and it sucks because I really, really liked her. She was very, very pretty, and we were boyfriend girlfriend, I guess, for a month.
That
Um,
long time in grade school.
yeah, I mean, that was all my relationships were a month. Like nothing lasts for a month until like I met my current wife. And even with that, it's like, I don't even think we're dating. I think we're just hanging out. But like, I called this one girl Leanne, and I left a voicemail. I was a
Oh Lord.
stupid kid. And I was, just trying to be funny. I don't remember what I said on the voicemail, but I know her parents hated me from that point on. And she was like, "Yeah, we have to break up. My parents and I can't talk to you." And I was like, "Man, that sucks." Like, all right, well, you know. But like most other times, having to call any girls, like I don't. It's like you'd always have those nerves, but I never stressed it too much. But it was all like I do remember it, but it was like,
Well, it never stopped me, but I remember the nerves,
yeah,
right? Like back then, I guess I feel like you had to be a little braver back then, even with
hmm,
like people at the mall. And this is not something I did, but I worked at the mall, so I saw that this culture, right?
yeah,
There was like a mall culture of guys with like a pen in their pocket or on their hat, and they were looking for girls to ask them for their number. Like that's an incredibly brave thing to do, like in my opinion. Like I never met
yeah,
girls like by walking up to them like, "Hey, you, what's up?" Like it was always circumstantial. We were in the same place, we're in the same class, or we're in the same area, or someone knows someone. It was never like kind of like cold call. Like it was like
yeah.
like just, "Hey, you over there." Like what? It's just like yeah, no,
Ooh, ooh,
that was it was a braver time I think back then because you gotta randomly walk to somebody, ask them for their number, and then call them and hope that it's not like their uncle or dad or brother who answers. Avoid that
okay.
drama.
All right, all right. So before we started recording, I told you I think somebody was trying to scam me on
Uh-oh.
Messenger. So they just messaged back. So I got a friend request from someone named Becca Rose on
Oh,
Instagram.
Becca Rose.
Becca Rose sounds very suspect. Definitely a scammer. Um, so I saw they sent me friend requests. I'm rarely on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like okay, let's look up the mutuals. I see the three mutuals. It's like three guys. Okay, I'm seeing where this is
Flag.
going, but yep. I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and confirm. Yes, we'll be friends. Probably 10 minutes later, I get a message. How are you doing? So I replied with, I'm well. Yourself? Typical Dante lingo.
Okay.
I'm doing good. Where are you from?
She hit you with the ASL.
Dude, I wish I would have went right into autopilot. So she hits me with where are you from? So I says, I'm in Maryland. You? Like I, God,
Super.
these people are so dumb. So I didn't get a response back yet. At this time I go, I'm in Maryland. You? She goes, where do you live in Maryland?
Mm.
So I go, Crofton. I don't live in Crofton. I should have said something. I should have said Hagerstown. I should have said something way off the fucking mark. So she goes, I'm living in Odenton. Weird. We were just talking about Odenton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living in
She's
Odenton,
listening to
Maryland.
you right now, dude.
Hey,
Or
I
I should
got
say, probably
fans.
he. He's listening to you right now.
Of course, it's a Nigerian prince. Um,
Needs money
she
for
was,
the for the astronaut that's stuck in space.
she says, I'm living in Odenton, Maryland. Okay, it's like the fact that you said Odenton, Maryland, already made me understand that you're a bot, or you don't live in Odenton.
There's
You
no way.
just said I'm in Odenton. I hope we're not far from each other. Um, I'm gonna let
Mhm.
that chill for a second. I will respond in a moment. But I'm gonna let that chill for a minute because they had to go and map out where Crofton is
Mhm. Mhm.
because it's like okay, this isn't too far off from each other. Like fuck off, Becca. Like
Do you think they're gonna? Okay, here's the question now: Is it? Could you help me out and click on this link to whatever, or do
well,
you
that's
think it's,
actually
or
I'm
do
about
you
to
think
find
it's
out
gonna
now.
be like, oh, I'm in a tight spot. I need money.
Let's see here. Okay, so I'm gonna respond. Oh, that's not too far off. Let's
Okay.
see here. Too far off from me. Let's see what their response is. Okay. They've been taking a while to reply too, so I you know we might hear something about 20 minutes.
Very
Um
thoughtful scammer. Very thoughtful scammer.
yeah, no. Like so I got one that was a direct text message though. It was like straight to my phone text message.
Oh, I
I
get
want to say
those.
it was 2 years ago and um it was asked for someone. I don't remember the guy's name. And I said, no, this isn't that person. I was like, oh my God, did they give me the wrong number? I was like, possibly. And this felt legit. So I was like,
Mhm.
possibly. I mean, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. And I
You
could see the
seem like
number.
a nice person.
So, so
Okay, come on, keep going.
I could see the number was from Florida. I know the zip code, or the area codes down there. So I was like, okay, okay, let's play the game. Let's dance the dance. Because I'm not thinking it's a scammer. It seemed legit. Like I've done it. I've given out the wrong number a time or two. You know, so they engage in conversation. It, again, felt legit. It felt like a genuine conversation. I was like, okay, this is good. This is cool. And then they would start talking about a jacuzzi and their house sitting. It was like, here, I'm going to send you a picture. And sure
Mm-hmm.
enough, they sent the naked picture, and I was like,
Oh shit.
but it looked like, a typical. It looked like a polished, like a really clean, like well lit picture. I was like, oh my god, like, freak. I was like, hey, so I'm not into that. And like, and legitimately, like I did say, like, no, no, I'm good, but thanks. Um, and blocked the number from that point. But I was like, I don't. It's like, yo,
Hmm.
I'm not sure what's going on. Are they trying to Chris Hansen me?
I
Are you
don't
trying to
know,
do it
man.
to catch a predator? Like, nah, homie,
That was a
back
whole
up
lot of
off.
bait. Yeah, no, no. Now,
Yeah.
though we get those a lot over here in California. And a lot of times it's like, oh, is Bobby there? And we're like, oh, sorry, man, you got the wrong number, whatever. It's like, really? Oh, and then they're like, yeah, like, oh, well, thanks, you seem nice, so I appreciate it. And then as soon as like you seem nice, that's like the hint, They're all, so well, whatever. How are you doing? Like that's how it starts, right? And then they
Yep.
want to engage you in conversation, and then it's like, click this link or blah blah blah, or some bullshit. Uh,
I mean,
I don't have your patience, man. I'm like, no.
so it depends. Sometimes it's a game for me though, because I like to play. I like to fuck with them. Like if I know that it's so, there's been a wave of hacked accounts. I think it's died down now, but like I want to say last summer, quite
Mhm.
a few of them got hacked. One of my teammates got hacked, and the thing is, the scammer. It's almost like they knew, and maybe they went looking through their DMs. But my teammate, like the message comes was like, "Hey man, my auntie is sick," and and he does say auntie, so
Hmm.
that's what kind of made me think like maybe this is him. And it was like, "Oh, do you think I could borrow a few bucks to help her get medication?" I was like, maybe, but hold on, man. Like, let me see what I got. I had no money.
Mhm.
Like, contrary to what people may believe, this podcast makes no money.
Lies.
Um,
Bullshit.
I got
Bullshit.
$9.95 for So You Like Horror so far.
I gotta be
The
honest. Like, okay, here I'm pulling the what is it? The I'm going behind the curtain here and showing everybody, so we can actually see each other. And he's literally wearing a crown. He's on a gold chair.
drinking pimp
So
juice.
I just saw a random hand give him grapes. I didn't even see the person. It was a long ass arm though.
Hey man, they notice out the goddamn camera.
Mm-hmm.
They get tased.
Don't
But
steal my sunshine.
when I got the message, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, huh, maybe. Then I was like, wait a minute, he has my phone number. Why would he
Mm-hmm.
shoot me a message?
Ah.
So, and then I messaged back and I said exactly that. And I was like, hey man, like, why are you messaging me on Messenger? Like, you have my phone number. So they go, there's something wrong with my phone. I was like, most
Mm-hmm.
people tend to use Messenger on their phone. But from time to time, like, I sent the message earlier on my computer.
Yeah.
My
Oh
wife
damn.
sent me something. I replied to her because I happen to be on the laptop at the moment.
Was it like right
So,
before you set your carrier pigeon off?
like, right before,
Right before.
like,
Okay.
just missed it. Um, so like disengage with the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this point, I'm still not sure if he's been hacked or not. I showed him a message. I was like, hey man, think your account's been hacked. And it turns out that his phone number had changed. So,
Oh.
you know, I actually did not have his current number. But um I got a message from him again later on, like a week later, asking for help to get into his account. So he needed me to click on this link.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you ask your girlfriend who lives with you to do this?
Ooh. And
And no response.
of course.
So then they come back. Now, mind you, I have 14 accounts. So at this point, I get a message on another account
No
asking for the
way.
same thing. So then I took a screenshot of the previous conversation
Oh Lord.
and sent it back to him. Then I get another message on a third account from him. I was like, okay.
Oh, there's
I was like,
suspicion.
so and at this point now I'm fucking with them too. And then finally I said, look, I'm gonna fucking report you, dude. Knock it off. And then I actually almost fell for one of the scams though, because there was a young lady, not because it's a female, but it was a young lady
Lies.
who was talking about the whole Cash App thing. It was like,
Mm.
I'm trying to help you get money. I was like, this was the first time. This was before all the other shit. So I didn't know. I was like, okay, let me check it out. See, and I was like, wait a minute, because she started getting really pushy about it,
Mm-hmm.
extremely pushy. I was like, okay, fucking chill. You're trying to scam me now, but motherfuckers gotta watch out, man. These scammers, they begin slick.
I have a scam story, and it's kind of good because it ends pretty with a lot of ambiguity. So I worked at a bicycle repair shop for a long time, and while I was there, I made a lot of friends. A lot of cyclists would come and go, and even though cycling is kind of a nerdy, dentist sport, it's not everyone has a bunch of cash. Some people are just, they love the ride and they're trying to get by. One of those individuals randomly hit me up on Instagram, and they were like, and at the time, Instagram was pretty much the better. It was better than texting at that point. It wasn't like people wanted to text. It was like, no, I'll just hit them up on Instagram. It's like I could totally
Yeah,
understand that. Like it was more common. And so he hits me up. He's like, "Hey man, like, dude, I lost my money. I lost my wallet. Blah blah blah. Um, I was wondering if you can help me out with some money for groceries, this and this, that and that." And I happen to know that he was he lived really close to the shop I worked at. So at first I was like, "Yeah, dude, like for sure, like I got you." I didn't even hesitate at first. But then it started getting weird. Like I got like a vibe, like something's a little bit off here. Something's a little bit off. And so as we were like kind of just talking back and forth, I kind of started testing it like, hey, so like, no, where are you? And like, oh, you need groceries, but like, I just saw you yesterday, you were doing this. And he was like, yeah, well, I lost my money or whatever. Finally, like, I was like, you know what, dude? I'm totally down to help you. If you want some cash, come on down to the shop and I'll hook you up, man. Just come on down. He's like, oh, I can't make it down. And I was like, dude, you live close to the shop. I'm here right now. I got money if you want to come down. I was like, dude, it's just, I would, I'm in a bind, man. If you could just send it to me, blah, blah, blah. And I just like said, nah, man, I'm not. If you want the money, come down. So pretty obvious scammer, right?
of course.
Okay, well, I never saw that guy again. like like he legit never showed up to like the shop ever again, and he was like a regular.
So that
So
dude might have been kidnapped, and
I don't know like maybe like at night I just like assumed that he was already dead and they were just using his information, so I had no
maybe
part in it. I had no part.
there's a I can't remember Kimura Mama. That's what it was on Instagram. Kimura Mama had put up in her stories she was battling lung cancer,
Mm.
stage 4.
Oh,
That's you know
that's it.
yeah, yeah. And she put a GoFundMe up, and I had been reposting it quite a bit.
Mhm.
I don't know her personally, but I follow her. I share some of the memes, and from what I gather, a good stand up person. So I was like, let me share this.
Yeah.
She has a family. So as I put up her GoFundMe in my stories, I would get these messages from the first time they almost had me. They legit almost had me. So the first message comes through. It's from a guy in the military, and he says that he's stationed overseas, but he would really like to help. So I Googled the person, and it comes up. Seems legit. So I goes, okay, well, she would definitely appreciate the help. Every little bit counts. He says he wanted to donate $400. Like, okay, cool. That
Yeah.
that that would be fucking great,
Sounds
dude.
awesome. Yeah.
And he goes, I want to send the money to you, and you can go ahead and distribute it however you need to for her. I was like, I'd prefer you just send it directly to her.
Mhm.
Since it's her GoFundMe, I just feel uncomfortable,
Taking the
taking the
money.
money.
Yeah. Totally.
So there's a pause. And he goes, well, I'd rather, much rather just deal with you since, we're already kind of communicating. Seems a little odd, but I'm
Yeah.
going to go with you. I'm going to go with you. So then he goes, I'm going to, he, did he ask for a cash app? I wish I know I have them because I just saw it the other day. Because I had been screenshotting it and send it to the other scammers who ran with the same word for word thing. But he
It's a
basically
script,
says,
dude.
yeah, it was, yeah, and that's like, you motherfuckers all, you one person or like 8 people who all have the same script. So he basically says, look, I'm gonna email over a check. You go ahead, like you can now take a picture of the check and deposit and what have you. I was like, okay, that seems weird, but okay. It's like, all right, I'll send it over to you in a second. So okay, cool. So it went to my spam, so I never
Mhm.
saw it until like hours later anyway. But he got real pushy, and that's what kind of really took me off. But also the other thing that really took me off was the fact that he said, "Well, look, you know, I'm in the office, here on base, and it won't allow me to send anything less than $1,500. So I'm going
Oh
to send you a
Lord.
check of 1,500. You take the 400 and then send me back the 900 difference." And I was like, I don't even. I was like, huh? I was like, so I was like, okay, that seems bizarre. It won't let you send anything, and it wasn't 1,500. It was like 15 and some odd change. It was like 1539 60 or
That's
some
even
bullshit.
weirder. Like had it been like
Yeah.
10, it would have been like a cashier's check or something.
So I was like, huh? Like that doesn't make sense, homie.
Nah.
He's like, no, no, no. So I just
I
stopped
have to
messing.
give you everything I have. It's the only way I know how to do business.
I was like, okay, well, you understand, you send this to me. Like, I'm from, I'm from a different era, from Detroit, son. You used to me that 15. Guess what? You ain't getting back. You're 9. Um, but, yeah, like I stopped replying to him. Then I repost her story or her GoFundMe my stories, you know, a couple days later, and then I get another message, word for word, same script, but from a different
Wow.
person. So at this point, I start to dance. I start playing with them. I was like, okay, let's go. Let's see what they like. Let's see how far we can get them. Got them all the way to the same point, and then I sent them a screenshot of the conversation with the other
Oh,
person. They bounced
you're all
quick.
two for two, 2 for 2.
So then I repost her GoFundMe again, and same thing happens. So this time I didn't even play. I just immediately sent the screenshot, like 2 of them this time now from the 2 different. It's like I'm just gonna, stack them up as they send me a message. I'm gonna send them all the screenshots. Like, look, like, I think one of the times I did say you guys are actually. Oh, I cussed at them. I called them a fucking idiot, and they reported me. Because this is when Instagram was paying,
The fucking
and
audacity.
I
Like they
got blocked.
reported you.
Like this is when Instagram was paying off Rails, and that's when I got in trouble. So
Oh
like
Lord.
basically you're in violation, you got reported, da 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 blase. I was like, oh wow, this cocksucker. So they reported me down. I went and reported them right back, but it was like,
Dude,
hey,
messing with your money, dude. Not cool.
yeah.
Not cool.
I mean, it's one thing you try to steal money from me, but you
Yeah.
actually legit got me fucking canceled for a month. So,
Damn.
missed out on like $12.
That could have been
Like,
great.
yeah, I mean, Instagram paid for a lot of my podcast equipment, so thank you for that. But yeah, the scammers, they're fucking unruly, and the thing that sucks about it is it obviously works
Yep.
because they have to get some people, otherwise they wouldn't keep doing it.
No, it works for sure. I hear people all the time. It's I don't know. It's one of those things where like I've learned to not judge the people who get got because
Hmm.
there's people who I know who I'm like, no, this fool's like he's on top of it. This what they got him, and it's like shit. Okay, shit happens, man. Like, moments of weakness, the right wording. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. I mean, obviously, like you got to imagine that like Facebook and Instagram, they're fucking working us right now with our algorithm of ourselves. Like basically, we sell ourselves out to them, so they know how to speak to us to get more views, get more likes, get more sales, and things like that, right? So obviously, they're not the only people who are mining for that kind of that kind of information from us. So these scammers basically are looking at thousands of people and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work, and they have these scripts, like you said, and they work, man. Like it's not supposed to work on everyone. It's supposed to work on a lot of people. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
you see enough right things to the to any amount of people, like a big group, it's gonna, all you need is one to bite.
yeah. I think that's the thing too. It's like if you if you put out 100 attempts and you get five of them, it's 5%. And if you're asking for, let's say, $100, it's $500.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll get figured out. So you'll uh switch the game up and move on to the next 100, and keep doing that. My friend worked at Target, I believe. He worked at a store, and a lady got in his line and she was bawling her, just tears rolling down. She had gotten caught up on the phone scam, and in the like she was about to head over to the ATM to pull out a bunch of money to give to the scammer. She didn't
Oh
think it was
wow.
a scammer. She thought it was something else. And my buddy, fortunately, he was like, "No, fuck that! Like, you're being scammed, man. Do not send them money. Do not go get any money from your ATM." So luckily, they encountered each other. Holy shit! There's a Moderna commercial. Maybe I don't watch enough TV to see commercials, but I guess they're still trying to still sell us the vaccine
You need
on
another booster?
commercials now. I mean,
Damn.
like, I don't know. Like, I just saw a Moderna commercial talking about, you know, mRNA. I was like, oh, wow. That's still a thing, I guess.
Personally, I wasn't really for the Madonna one. I was for the Michelle Pfeiffer one, personally. But that's me.
I mean, she's got lovely eyes.
She does. She does.
But um but yeah, like the scammers are just they're unruly. And like, look, I'm telling you, if I win the lottery, I I will dedicate a good portion of my fortune to tracking down scammers and beating their asses just on
There's
site.
some dudes on Instagram who do something not that cool, but pretty damn cool, because they are hackers. So they basically hack those people, and
Mm,
they're showing them, like, they're basically, they take over their computer, they're showing the screen, so their camera's on recording them, and you can see that person who's like telling them all these things about how to set up Windows or whatever. So like, I don't know how they do it, because obviously they're like creepy neo people, but whatever.
yeah,
um but thank goodness they're on the good side, because they like, no, your name is this and you live here. And the people freak out, dude. They're like, oh, what do we do? Like, he's like, oh, you just shut everything down, but the camera's still on. Which, just to show you, like, if this guy was bad, he could do that to us. Like, so
yeah,
that's
oh
that's
yeah.
also frightening, like. But yeah,
I
it's
mean,
it's, it's wild out there, man. Hey, don't want to change
yeah,
it up too much, but I have a question. Just because I'm
yeah.
jealous and I miss it. How's training going?
So I'm just getting back into like a real flow with the new work schedule and everything.
Oh,
Um,
that's right. You got the new job. How's it going? Like,
I'm enjoying it. I love it.
that's good.
It's away from customer service, so I'm not having to deal with that headache
Right.
of work. Number one. Number two, it allows me to help people do something, you know. Um, and number three, I get paid to hang out. We went to watch Haunted Mansion last
What?
week. I went to watch Transformers. Uh, I go bowling every single day. It's
That's wild.
so it is, and the thing is, I tell lots of people, it's like, I know my friends, so it's kind of like knowing who can handle the job versus who can't. There are a lot of friends I have that I think could handle the job, and I tell them, like, look, go look into it. It doesn't pay the best,
Hmm.
but for what you're doing, I
But it's
mean, it
stress.
pays really fucking great.
But it's low stress. There's no stress-free
Oh
job.
yeah,
A job's a job. But if it's low stress, there is definitely a benefit to that. And people don't
yeah,
focus enough on mental health. I mean, if you have a really high-paying job, but the mental health drain is massive, then you're not doing yourself any you're doing, I guess you are doing yourself a disservice, right?
Yep. Yep. Well, and I think that's just the thing too. As I was talking with one of my co-hosts from So You Like Horror before we got recording a few weeks back, and he asked, and I told him, I was like, "Look, dude, I have the weekends off. Typically I can be home by 3:30 if I want to. Um, my schedule is until 4, and I'm about half an hour away from home, so it's like, like if I choose to stay until 4, I get home by 4:30. More often than not, I drop my person off. Once they're home at 2:30, I can go straight home
Oh
and
wow.
just, you know, call it. I can get home, I can do my notes on the computer at home if I choose.
Right.
Um, but I've been going back to the center lately because it's like, you know what? I don't want them to think I got fired. I don't want them to like, I fucking knew he couldn't handle it.
Well,
So,
not just that. Like I feel like, and I work from home. I have like a hybrid type system where like I go to my
mm,
work 3 times a week and 2 times I just stay home. I feel like I'm more productive when I'm there. I feel like they're just little things you do, like, "Oh, I'm gonna do laundry as well, or I'm gonna whatever. Like I feel like those things happen, but I also feel like I don't. Okay, here's the main reason I don't like working from home. I don't know when to stop working when I'm working from home.
mm,
So like
okay.
if I start at 9 and it's 8:30 and I'm done with all my shit, I'm gonna do a half an hour for free. I basically work for free for a half an hour. And my mindset is, well, I'm only helping myself because now I'm gonna have an easier day by knocking out this shit early. But then I'm like off at like 8 when I clocked out at like 6 and I'm still there like, well, I'd rather get this done, and I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Well, I know when I used to work in health insurance, we had the option to work from home. I was helping with our patients in California. I'm here in Maryland, and I had a friend who moved to California who was helping the patients here in Maryland. We were working the same company.
Oh wow.
Um, and it was like it makes sense now when I think about it because it's like if some shit go down, it's like I can't be like, bitch, I got your address. Hold on, you don't call me because I'm petty. Like I'll show up and get shot
I'll show up and
real
get
quick.
shot. Like I love how it's not like I'll kick his ass. It's like I'll show up and get shot.
Hey man, I can't fool myself. Look, I like I'm no punk, but I also understand too people. Hey, if they feel threatened, like fuck that, threaten
you,
me, I'll show you.
I thought about you
So,
the other day. I was seeing this thing. It was one of the reels on YouTube, and these two guys in Detroit, and they were on some crotch rockets, and this guy they're
oh
all
boy,
revving. They're just being dumb, right? But one of the guys is revving and he takes off on the light and he flips some guy off. And then the guy recording his homie is like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. Not here, man. You don't do that here." The guy in the truck who he flipped up followed him, and you can see his arm come out the side, and he has a gun. He's all,
oh,
and he's like, "Yeah, yeah, fuck me. What if I just shoot you right now?" And the guy was like dead quiet. He's all, "That's why I thought you did call him like a bitch or something, right?" And he drives off, and his friend's like, "I knew it. That's why you don't do that here." I was like, "Yeah, dude. Like, you don't do that anywhere. Like you don't know. Like that fucking dentist in Beverly Hills could have a gun. Like
yeah,
people are
I,
petty and people don't take too kindly. And road rage is just like it is the most Neanderthal thing in the world, and because it is, no one's like what's the word for like there's no better person. Like you go to the hood and road rage is terrible. You go to like the most upper class neighborhood you can imagine, and road rage is the same because it channels like the most Neanderthal part of your brain, the most rudimentary, what medulla oblongata part. Like you're reacting,
yeah,
you're not even thinking. It's like breathing. You're like fuck this guy, and you're like mad inside of your cage. Like
yep.
it's the worst, which is
Ooh,
why I don't do that shit anymore.
I've definitely toned down my attitude while driving. It's I saw someone the other day just bobbing and weaving through traffic,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there like yelling like, you're an asshole. So then I sped up
Oh
just so I
no.
can make sure they couldn't bob back over into the lane.
Hmm.
Because it was like, man, fuck you, dude. But and I had the thing. It was like, yeah, just let it go. Just
Yeah.
let it go. Because what if they fucking bob and they fucking clip you and then you spin out?
Yep.
This whole thing. So, but yeah, it like when I worked in health insurance, like we're all over the fucking place, dude. Um, uh,
Feels like
trying
a
to
normal episode that we have.
true, true. Um, yeah, like when I tell people podcasts are just conversations that people get to listen in on, like that is legit with us. You and I, like we don't typically have a theme or a topic. We're just like,
No.
let's just fucking hit record and just start talking. Let's see where it
What's
goes.
the theme of this? Same thing it is always, ADHD.
Yeah, true.
Just
Like,
random thoughts. They turn into small conversations.
well, like the how did I get to the health insurance thing? Oh, work from home. They
Hmm.
were giving us the option to work from home, and my whole feeling was if they took the option away from us eventually. Even the people who were home, they're trying to bring back to the office. This was way before COVID, so it wasn't like oh you guys are home now we want you back. It was just we got a new manager like overseeing the whole like our area. It was like fuck these guys, bring them back to the office.
Wow.
But my whole feeling was if I work from home, I'm less likely to call out because the whole thing for me going into work sick is the commute. Well, I mean, being sick too, but it's also the commute. Like I'm driving and I feel miserable. I'm probably gonna turn around and just call him like, "Hey, I'm not coming in." But if I'm home, I'm able to sit in the basement and be on the phone and answer my calls. Then no, that's no problem at all. I'll sit in the basement, put on something in the background, and
Yeah.
answer these calls. But like the job, like right now where I work, it is like strictly like you have to be out in the community, you have to be available. They gave me a vehicle to drive home.
Oh, nice.
So but I think the trick to that is if they need me to go, uh pick someone up super early, it's like, okay, well, just leave straight from your house and go get them instead of like coming to the center, pick up a van, and then
Yeah.
go back out. It's like, oh, you already have it. So it's one of those things where, a friend pointed out, they're like, oh, well, you don't have to, waste gas and wear and tear on your car to drive to the center to pick up a van. Like you just take the van home and
Hmm.
then in the morning head out. And I found because now that I have that option, I actually get to my runs a lot earlier because I'm just leaving straight from home because I leave still at the same time anyway. I
Yeah.
just don't go to the center. Versus today, I went into the center and I ended up getting to my first pickup late.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's an unnecessary added step. So yeah, I totally
yeah.
understand that. Yeah, no, that's for
And,
sure.
and the thing is, when I go to the center anyway, I don't have anything to do in the morning. So it's like, why are you even here? It was like I was just going there. Hey, y'all, they didn't fire me. I'm still here. I just like don't. I know you motherfuckers are thinking, oh, they fired that guy quick. No, as far as I understand, I'm one of the more patient people, in the field out there, and getting some of the better results. So, think. I mean, I'm not saying I can't be fired. Like anyone can be fired, but if they're
True.
gonna fire me, it's gonna be on some shit that like I earned. It ain't gonna be on some like, oh, this guy, he's a little dumb. He didn't document properly. It's gonna be on some shit like, oh, he
He punched
got
him.
to
He fucking
yeah,
hit him. He hit that guy in the face,
like he went to the mall and squared up and
and then he got
got
shot.
shot
Full circle.
because that's me. It's like,
That's how. Yeah.
that's my first thought always. Like, oh, that motherfucker gonna shoot me. I ain't trying to fight him. It's like he doesn't have a gun on him. I don't know that, so I'm just
No.
not gonna bother. Fuck it. But
Oh,
yeah,
he's naked and covered in butter.
like I'm definitely loving the new job. The schedule works out great for me. As it pertains to being on the mats. I had to take the first couple months just to see how the schedule shapes out, but also how I felt physically.
Right.
So, I had a lot of people saying, no, just jump right back in. You have the opportunity now. And for me, it was really a matter of I don't want to jump back into it, overextend myself, and then not feel right coming back. So I feel like right now I've got Friday evenings for no gi, and then Saturday mornings for gi, and then Saturday afternoon I'm doing privates with one of my coaches, just
Nice.
kind of really reacclimate myself to the mats and feel this comfort. And I've been talking about the Monday and Wednesday schedule of it now too, because it's like, well, I know I can get some no-gi on Monday and Wednesday, so maybe let's pepper that back in there over the next couple weeks too. But it's tough. It's been tough on my body, but it's an earned pain. It's like
Right.
like when I played basketball, my knees were hurt. It was earned though. I'm out there on the courts, but it felt like it was unnecessary. I was hurting my knees for something that mattered none. Whereas like at least with jiu-jitsu, it gives you self-defense except for against a bullet.
Of
And
course.
um it also helps me with my mental health. When I am feeling stressed, when I am feeling depressed, I get on the mats. It does help out a lot. So there are benefits versus basketball and football. There are no benefits from either of those. I wasn't going pro. I was just
Right.
out there getting my ass kicked, and I'm not going pro in jiu-jitsu either. But at least like I said, the mental health aspect is definitely a huge benefit, and then also the um just idea that I'm not looking at jujitsu like yes it's great for self-defense, but I'm not looking at the idea of like I'm gonna go to the mall and I'm going to fight people. It's like I go out and I know like if I speak up, before if somebody got loud with me, my ego got in the way and I would want to fight them, whereas now if somebody
Right.
gets loud with me, I feel the comfort of knowing that I could just say okay, well, that's fine, you can be upset. I'm not.
That's so crazy you say that because I that happened to me as a as a youngster, like you know growing up. I think growing up in our the 80s and 90s, like it was definitely a more fight heavy time. And I'm not talking about like these epic boxing fights. No, no, it was just like little scraps here and there with kids in the schoolyard. It wasn't anything fancy or it wasn't like we were out there like winning freaking belts or anything. It wasn't that dramatic, right? But as far as like where kids now would argue, kids then would like do a couple punches and that would be the end of it. Like teacher would come in
Yeah,
and be like, knock it off. And then you'd knock it off. And like maybe one person got hit in the face, or whatever, like, but it wasn't like a big fight. And I mean, not to say they didn't happen because those did happen as well. But it was a lot more little petty fights that led to maybe a fight. And sometimes that petty fight would be enough for that one of them to be like, yeah, maybe no. Like I kind of
yeah,
don't want to do this. I felt one fist, and it was only going to get worse. And so like they
yeah,
learned their lesson, they calmed down, they stopped talking shit or whatever it was, right? But I was very easy to say yes to a fight or to like to whatever prove myself or whatever, right? Well, I wasn't gonna let someone disrespect me because uh contrary to how I look now, which is like something more ogreish than than human. I was a very soft featured, light skin, light brown hair kid, no facial hair at all. So I was a target where I grew up, which was ironic because I was Mexican, but they didn't care. I look white, so I was white. You get treated how you
yeah,
look, not how you are. That's why my friend Cuba's Cuba because we called him Cuba because he was black, but didn't matter. People didn't give a shit. He got treated black. The end. So, and he spoke Spanish too, which was always like funny because whenever someone talks shit in Spanish, he was like, "Motherfucker, I speak Spanish," which I loved it. Um, but yeah, so like I fought a lot more growing up in like the undergrades, and then all of a sudden I got into like backyard boxing and backyard MMA and things like that. And all of a sudden I realized, hey, I actually know kind of an idea of what to do as opposed to just let anger rise to the occasion, and all of a sudden you're just swinging in fear or anger, one or the other. And when that happened and I started learning when to throw a punch and it was more controlled, I kid you not, I said no to a lot of fights. I walked away. I was the quote unquote bitch in some fights, like, oh, he doesn't want to fight me. You're right. No, I don't. I'm done. It's cool, man. Good luck. You have it. Ooh, you're so tough. Good for you. Like it was so easy for me to do that because I'm like, look, I can fuck you up if I wanted to. I have nothing to prove here. What am I going to lose here? What happens when your friends jump me? What happens when these other things happen? And like, so it almost slows down the thinking process where instead of reacting with rage, because you're in a contact sport, like a fighting sport, it lets you think about the whole situation because that's kind of the part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even with karate, right? Like, I'm not saying karate is good or bad. Like I took it as a kid. Um, it helped control you. Like it helped make you be in control in an environment where you're about to get kicked. You know, one of you guys is gonna punch the other, and that calmness that you get. Like I always said that with jujitsu. When I was doing jujitsu, I don't think I'd ever really have to use jujitsu in a real fight. I don't think I'd ever have to use any of those things in a fight because I was more prone to avoid the fights. But in a pressure cooker situation, in a work situation, in an emergency, jujitsu really shows its strength. And I'm like, if I'm about to get choked out and I can still maintain all of my focus to find that one hand to pull over and go over my hand, if I can have that calmness in that situation, in an earthquake, I can calmly think, okay, where's my kids? Okay, let me get that one. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the one that's gonna need me. Okay, what's going on? Car crash? Okay, shit, adrenaline. That's right. I know how to deal with adrenaline. I've been slammed before. Let's look around. What are we doing next? Like that's what really helps. I think those like contact like not even contact sports because that football is a contact sport for sure. But like fighting sports, they slow down what it is to be super pumped full of adrenaline. And they make you think very deliberately in a normal panic situation. And I think that's really what helps. Like that's why I think I would say on average, most people who train, jujitsu at least I could say, because I've done it, right? I think that's why most people who do jujitsu are not out there looking for fights because they can stay more calm in a stressful situation.
Yeah. No, I think that's a big part of it is staying calm. I think it's just a matter again of knowing that you know there's more behind your words than just words if needed, but more than likely won't need it. But if you do, there's there. I think that the same with any you know really martial artist period.
Hmm.
Muay Thai, judo. I mean, hell, even wrestlers.
Yeah, no, totally.
Boxers. But and I think there's also a thing though that comes with that is the consequences. Like like I was out at a baseball game with the old friend and his son. He and I were talking, and his son had pointed out, like he doesn't want to fight. He came in and tried jujitsu with me, and you know, I think he would be great at it if he continued to pursue it. It's not a cheap sport at all.
No.
But he was talking about the ideal of just like how people love to get into fights, and was like, and he had quoted Joe Rogan. He specifically mentioned Joe Rogan about this, saying basically, you know, so many people want to get into a fight so many people who don't know how to fight always want to fight, and those who do know how to fight, you know, do their best to avoid it.
Yeah.
And when I look back at my younger self, it makes perfect sense. I had no clue what I was
Same.
doing, but I was quick to jump to any kind of a fight if possible. Like I wouldn't let my friends fight. I would always break those fights up, but I was always quick to like swing on someone else. But
Yeah, no, I think it's typical because when what you lacked was the presence of mind because when it was your friend, you were thinking about your friend's safety, you were thinking about that stuff. When it was you, you weren't thinking that way. You were letting the
yeah,
moment take control of you as opposed to being in charge of the moment.
yeah. I mean, that was a dumb. There were too many times where I should have gotten the shit kicked out of me, like, or shot probably, just because I was dumb. I was always quick, always quick to just get in someone's face, just get aggressive. Whereas now, I mean, I think also what comes with that, not just the fact that I train, but also I'm 45, I'm older. I have no
Yeah.
desire to get into any scrap with nobody. First off, like my hip hurts. Um, I'm
I'm fighting my own back. Like,
yeah, like I'm fighting my own battles right now, dude. I thought I was recovering from this groin injury. That shit is still fucking acting
oh,
up
it's
on me.
lingering. Hey,
Oh
NFL
yeah,
baby, NFL. Soft tissue injuries are the worst.
man. I I went to shift in the chair the other day and I felt that shit twinge, and I was like, oh no, no, this is no good for me. It hurts, and I couldn't walk for like 20 minutes. So
Oof.
I'm not trying to fight nobody, man, because I got my own battles that I'm trying to win, and I'm not doing a good job at winning those battles. But um, you know, getting back on the mats and kind of doing this all in a controlled environment, it's helpful, but it still sucks. Like now, what was it last week? I pulled guard and I let the dude pass immediately because I can't with the injured groin and a bad hip,
Mm,
I can't maintain that guard anymore. And I was just like, just go, just get the fuck out of here.
I
But
bait
part of
him.
like what I'm working on in my private lessons right now is really just kind of I don't want to be on bottom. So it's like let's work on just getting back to top.
Hmm.
Just getting back to top and staying there, which is something we should always be learning. Anyway, jiu-jitsu is weird because it's like you want to be able to teach, fighting off your back and being able to, get your submissions from there. But I think that should be more, of the fail safe. Like, look, if I end up here, I can do it. But you always want to be on top. You always want to be the man. You always want to be the hammer. You don't want to be the
Yeah,
nail.
yeah.
So,
No, 100, 100.
so I don't
Yeah,
know.
being
But
able to take a shot is not a good defense.
yeah, like stop blocking punches with your face.
Yeah.
It's not cute.
I
Um,
didn't want to diss you, but so I had a groin injury my freshman year of high school. And I was literally full gas sprinting against the other linemen. And I just felt something and I just ate shit, just assholes and elbows, just tumbled. I was like, what the fuck? And I got up and I was like, oh, something hurts. And I was like, yeah, I pulled my groin, and within a week, I was already in the next game. Like, and I think about that now. Like, there is no way I would still be off work. Like,
yeah,
there's no way. Like, I wouldn't be able to handle that now. Like, youth is such a what is it? Youth is wasted on the young, right?
yeah. Well, and that's the funny thing is when I hurt my groin, I was already aware that I was going to be switching jobs. Like I'd already accepted a new job, so I knew the schedule and everything was about to get weird. So I was like, okay, with this injury, it's kind of a perfect window for me to take some time to recover. And groin injuries and hamstring injuries are two
Mm,
one injuries that are really weird because you think they're better and they're really not. Like I pulled my hamstring really really bad. Not in high school. It was after high school because we were playing Turkey Bowl. So it was Thanksgiving. I remember actually leading into it. We ended up playing on Thanksgiving. I already had the injury, but I remember I was playing D line. I couldn't sprint off the line at all. Like
no.
you call hike. And like I could get to the quarterback
Mhm.
eventually, but the quarterback would have already thrown the ball. So
Right.
that was of no use. Now if if you decide to run, I can still get out there and make tackles if you're trying to
Right. You
run up
saw
the middle.
you could fill the hole, but you weren't about
Yeah,
to. Yeah.
yeah. I wasn't
Especially in
you weren't getting chased down by me.
nah, nah.
It's just
So
like
it's
fuck it.
just run to the flats and go
Yeah, it's like
every play. flats.
I think they figured it out eventually. They're just like, just run to the edge. He can't cut. He can't do shit. Like, and then Steve, who was playing in that same game, he had a groin injury, so he was on opposite team. So we would just match up on the line. It was like, look, I know you can't do shit. I can't do shit. Let's just get on the line together and block each other.
So
But it's like now think about those injuries. It's like, huh, you know, there was a whole different game back then for me physically versus today. I get any injury, it's like I'm gonna go ahead and chill out. And I know guys that are my age or older that they get injuries and they keep like, no, I'll get around it. I'll power through. It's like, good for you guys. I'm not you. I get hurt. I'm gonna chill because I'm not doing this for any medals. I'm not doing this for
right,
championships. I'm just doing this for funsies and just
super
like
casual.
yeah, man. Like super casual is an understatement. I'm the
That's gonna
most
be my
super of
jujitsu shirt
casuals.
if I ever get back to jujitsu, and that's a goal of mine. It's a bucket list. I got to get back into jujitsu. I'm gonna get I want to get either a shirt or a hat that says Team Super Casual.
Dude,
Just a
it's
reminder to all the young bucks not to fucking throw me around. Like, hey man, this ain't that. This ain't that.
the thing that sucks is like hopefully my body looks old. Like I shaved, so like it's like I get kind of like I feel like okay, I have to like look like I'm like older. Hopefully they
Mm,
think like hopefully they can say, okay, this dude is definitely in his 40s, so take
nah,
it easy on him.
you're screwed,
But
dude.
like my body is like, okay, hey, I'm still like kind of like out of shape. So if you look at me, you say, okay, this guy definitely is old. I hope this is the case tomorrow when I get on the mats for no gi, because that no gi class is all young bucks and they're
Oh
all
yeah.
wrestlers.
Oh Lord.
And I'm it's like, but I don't want to not go. But I'm also like, look, man, I'm really not trying to like when we do the warm ups and like I'm like, all right, cartwheels. I'm like, I can do a cartwheel. I love doing cartwheels,
Mhm.
but not for warm ups. I do cartwheels for funsies in the park. I'm not doing cartwheels on the mats like as part of my warm ups. Like do some cartwheels. Like fuck you guys. Like and the thing is, usually by the time we get to cartwheels, I've already kind of injured something, so I just go to the corner and start stretching. And coach will say to me, "Is like when we're like, because our Friday night no gi coach, he's a former D1 wrestler,
Oh
so."
Lord.
He'll have us doing sprawls and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, after the first run of sprawls, I've already injured something. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to this corner and go ahead and stretch the
Aw.
rest of my body out. And it's not that far into the practice that happens. It's either that or the penetration step, one or the other. I end up straining something. I'm like, yep, I'm gonna corner myself here. I'm gonna stretch. And then once it's time to partner up, I look for the next oldest guy in class. Say, you want to be my friend? Because I want to be your friend. And then it's just that's how we go from there.
You look like you're not about to hurt me.
Yeah.
I would like to not hurt you as well.
So last Saturday, I paired
Like the
up
work
with
ethic.
like a guy. It was his third day of
Oh,
training
that's
ever.
oh.
And he was a big
I've been
boy.
that guy. I've been that guy.
As have I. Um, well, the thing is, I paired up with the purple belt, and the purple belt was a little fella.
Uh,
And during drilling, the other guy flags us down, was like, hey, you guys mind switching partners because I'm clearly outweigh, he points to the other guy. And then I started thinking like, fuck you. What are you like, bitch? I lost some weight. Like,
I am not that big, sir.
well, because the other dude was like a clear 250 plus. Like I'm like tip of the scales at 215, on a bad day. So but I paired up with him
Dude,
and
dude, I was 250 earlier this year
like
after my back.
I was
I was
approaching.
there. I was there, bro. That was scary.
Yeah. You know,
So,
you got to make the turnaround, man. Like, however it may take,
yeah, yeah, definitely.
like it may not be physical. Let's change the diet then, like
It
whatever it
sucks, but yeah,
is.
that's yeah, no, definitely. So you and 3D-year-old 250 guy.
That yeah, that no, that dude was all spaz.
Mhm.
and all muscle.
Oh
Like, or not muscle.
no.
No, not muscle, but like all strength. Like he's strong.
Oh,
He's just like
okay. Okay.
muscling through everything. I was
Oh,
like, oh my
well, a
lord.
linebacker who just like
And
250 all
like,
muscle.
like, well, no, oh my god, if he was all muscle and 250, I would have just like, I would have left.
Would
I'm
you
like,
fight
fuck
Brock
this.
Lesnar? Like,
Yeah, I would have like, I'm not doing this. Fuck y'all. I don't know how old that guy is, but I know how old I am, and I am hurt old. Like, that's not. I'm easily injured old. Come on, dude. But and mind you, I'm still dealing with the groin,
Mhm.
so we're working on closed guard. I can't get my legs
Mm,
around him for the
nope.
closed guard. So but I know what to do. This is my first rodeo,
Right.
so I know how to kind of keep him at bay. But once it came time,
You're all scissor sweep. Gotcha.
yeah, exactly, yep. Basically, I can't lock up this guard, but I can pinch my knees and keep you in place. But eventually, when we sparred, it I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let this dude pass,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna wrestle up because I can't try to fight this guy with any kind of a guard, whether it
Right.
be open guard or try to get to butterfly, which is the worst thing for me with a groin injury,
Oh yeah, no.
or try to get the half guard. I was just like, look, I'm just going to let him pass and I'm going to wrestle up and then we'll go from there. And, again, he's just muscling everything. He's like, okay, buddy, stop. Like, slow down, buddy. And and the thing is, he was very sweet. He was a very nice guy, but it's just again, we've all been there as we're the
Yeah.
new guy and we don't know what we're doing, but we know, hey, this is a combat sport and we got to be physical. So I'm going to be physical. I did it
Yeah.
too. I came in this motherfucker trying to tackle everybody like it was a football game. Like that's legit, and it was working until they realized, oh, he's a football player. Fuck this guy.
Uh
And then they started sprawling on me and dribbling my head off the mat. And I was like, okay,
oh.
I'm down. Fuck, I look like stupid drinking dumb fuck juice. That's what I look like.
Drinking dumb fuck juice. I've never heard that, but I love it.
Like, it's like again. That's what it looked like when I went over to get my drink of water, just another sip of dumb fuck juice, and then come back out there get choked by my own t-shirt. Yeah, Ew.
Uh,
Early jujitsu for me was so horrible. I'm surprised I stuck with it because I
oh,
was
that's funny.
definitely getting I was getting manhandled by like kids. I was getting manhandled by old people. I was getting manhandled by anybody who like knew a damn about jujitsu. They had the chief of police wrist locking me every chance he
Oh,
got.
damn it.
Like, it was
Uh,
bad, but I'm still here.
hey, I got to bring it up before we're out of time here. Fantasy football is super close, like
Yes.
super close. I am so excited. I cannot. So last year was my first year, right?
Yep.
Last year was my first year. I had a lot of learning to do. I feel like I got better towards the end of it.
Hmm.
I started making like more educated moves and less more reactionary moves, which was good. And there was a learning curve for sure. Like, and I just even if I would have sucked throughout the whole way through, which I wasn't great, but even if I would have just totally been trashed the whole way through, if I would have felt exactly how I still feel, I would be just as excited because I just enjoyed it. Like it
Good.
totally changed the way I watch football. I've always been a I watch my team kind of thing.
Yep.
And not even like I watch this guy or oh that guy's playing. No, no. It's like I watch my team. Like I'll not watch anything. And then all of a sudden if there's a game on, oh, is it my team? I'll watch them as a team. I don't know the players. I don't care. If I'm watching sports, it's one of my teams and that's it. And obviously was it the red zone? You know,
Yes.
I love red zone now, like because it's like you're just getting all this information and so much of it pertains to either you or the person you're playing or someone you should be looking at that maybe a sleeper, so all of it, basically every aspect of it is ridiculously fun for me. And I'm even like I'm that nerd. I listen to the podcast and everything else too for like all the fantasy football stuff. Like
Same here.
it's I love that stuff. And yeah, I am super excited about this year. I don't know what leagues I will be in, but I hope I'm in at least three, you know?
Hey, Columpton, we just talked about it last week. I don't know if we talked about it on air or off air, but we're actually gonna the next episode we record tomorrow. It's got to come up because we're getting to that point where we got to start getting our team, getting our league together, getting everybody in it. Number one, but number two, you know, it's conversation time, so we got to start talking about the rankings and who's where. Because I think Steve and I talked off air about this, about the rankings, and it was like, this is good, content. We need to save this for the show. But then it was
Right.
like, maybe not, because if we're going to do a league with people that are listening to the show, maybe we shouldn't be talking about it on air. Because we're definitely off air because he had mentioned some picks. He was like, "Don't you fucking take my picks." I was like, "Don't fucking tell me your picks. Why would
You
you
know what?
tell me?"
If you're into it, it's the same fucking picks, and that's why like you
Yeah,
listen to like those podcasts, everyone's playing against everyone in all those podcasts. Like most of them know
mhm,
each other, but they're like
yeah,
giving away their strategy all the time because it's realistically like it's look at the draw from the start and then
yes.
who you got, and even if you're like in love with an idea, once you're drafting, if that's done, you have to be fluid because like you just cannot like nail yourself to any kind of cross. You can't be like, oh, I would never, all receivers. I'm gonna start with all receivers. I'm not gonna do any, running backs. It doesn't matter. No, dude, like you might not have a choice. And the best thing you can get on your first pick, if you're like 11th or something, is a running back. And why would you get a low tier one receiver when you could have a high tier one or a mid tier one running back? Like, why would you do that?
So that's the tricky thing about the draft too, is like that pick, that where you picking. I
Hmm.
tend to end up picking seventh a lot, and I hate it. But I make the teams work in free agency. But I've always had one rule, and I stick to this rule very, very closely. Um, win or lose, I stick to this rule. And being a Michigan guy, I don't pick Ohio State players.
Okay.
It's the way it is. I remember way back in the day with Eddie George, top running back, and I was like, I can't do it. He was right there for me, and I was like, I can't do it. I cannot, you know, for the life of me, choose Eddie George. Um, what else? Like, I mean, they've produced so many great players, but you won't see me drafting them. And I know people can say, "Oh, well, whatever," throw that shit out the window. It's like, no, it's just it's not even just Ohio State. I just don't like the state of Ohio.
So
Like,
it's Ohio and Ohio State. Like, you don't give a shit. Like,
yeah, fuck LeBron. Uh, it's like when he went back and Cleveland won that title, I was like, man, that's some bullshit. Like, fuck y'all. When Stipe won the heavyweight title, they're like, fuck Stipe, and everybody loves Stipe. I was like, I like Stipe too until he won the title. I was like, oh, you from Cleveland, man? Fuck you. But I'm excited about the upcoming fantasy football league. The NFL 2023 season is going to be so bonkers. Just looking at, you got Aaron Rodgers playing for the Jets now. I believe Dalvin Cook signed with the Jets.
N- I'm not sure if he signed yet. I haven't listened to my podcast, but I mean, he was at their practice like last week, and they
So
were
that's
like
what I
chanting
saw.
his name, dude. If you got a good feel, like dude, this is a fucking practice game, and they're chanting your name, dude. Like that's gonna be, I don't know, man. That's gonna be great.
So that's what threw me off then, because yeah, they said he was at the practice. They were chanting his name, and I was like, "Did he sign?" But then I saw something later that day that said, "Will he sign with the Dolphins or will he sign with the Jets?" I was like, "He didn't sign with the Jets because it sounded like he signed with the Jets."
Yeah,
But
it's
I
looking
don't know.
good, but I mean, we don't know. You don't know. Well, same thing. There's a couple of running backs right now who like, and that's the tricky part. Like, people are like, a lot of running backs are like holding out, and the tough part is there's legit running backs in free agency that could totally be your go to guy. Like they
Yeah.
could be the go to guy. Like, would they be like a star? No, they wouldn't be RB1, but we've already seen like in small sample sizes where someone like oh, what's his name? Sounds like alligator with an A. He was shit, he was on oh, I forgot his name. I'm blanking. But there was this guy, there was Mozart, there was the guy who backed up with an S. What's his name? With an S. Basically, dudes that showed up when their number one hotshot guy got injured,
Yeah.
and they were like totally like you know maybe RB3, or no, not three. They were like a 4 or a 3, you know,
Okay.
and then all of a sudden the stud's gone, and they're legit numbers. They're like RB1 numbers. They're like, oh my god, like who knew he had that in him? Who knew like he could do all that crap? Like. And I am not giving. I'm terrible with names and shit, so that's why I listen to all those podcasts. But
Well,
I
that's a
kid you not.
tricky. That's a tricky thing about running back right now is that so back we all started league back in like '03, I want to say. So we've been like Steve and I specifically have been playing in fantasy football for 20 years now together.
Mm-hmm,
Um, and back then it's like you were king of your league if you had three starting running backs.
mm-hmm,
You were going to dominate because that's the way it was set up. You like running backs were king, and receivers were kind of like, I don't need a receiver until like
right,
round 5 or 6, maybe 7. And now receivers are becoming the bell of the ball where you get that receiver early. Like last year, I got Justin Jeffries.
all right.
Uh, and I think I
Jefferson.
got him at number 7. And then on the wraparound, I was like, I may as well grab another receiver. And then I ended up with I ended up with a decent team. I won the regular season. So, I mean,
Yeah, nice.
it worked out for me. But, like,
Algier. Algier's
okay,
running back. He,
yeah.
he was like a revelation of like, this is not the guy. This is not the guy. All of a sudden, he steps up a couple games. Oh shit, he could be the guy. He
So,
he definitely fit where he needed to be.
yes. And that's where it gets really tricky because it's like you have those guys that like when their number is called, they're gonna show up. But
Can
are
they
they
carry
calling
the
numbers?
load?
Yeah. Like I think like right now when you look at running back for next year, I think Jonathan Taylor just asked for a trade.
And
So
and I think he's hurt,
oh well, I mean, fuck him.
right? Like,
Like it,
oh, he's saying bullshit to the back injury, but there is like a legit some other injury that he's dealing with. So
so I mean, like right now is like just off the top of my head, running backs that you can say are legit like RB1. They're not sharing
McCaffrey, yeah,
carries would
no,
be what's his name in San Francisco?
McCaffrey,
McCaffrey.
yeah,
Uh Saquon just signed,
yep.
so you got him right now. And
Old man, I'm an old man with Henry,
no, oh, and yeah, Henry. Oh my God, I forget
old
about
man
him.
Henry
So
throwing touchdowns.
you got those 4 guys that you know are legit number ones that aren't going to be really splitting time. If they are splitting time, it's like 80-20.
Yeah,
They're not losing carries.
I'm still
Other
big on
than
ETN. I'm still big. I know he has
I
some like they. I know they're bringing some other dudes in, but I'm still pretty big on him. He was pretty exciting, and I think that's part of it. Like he could make things happen. So
so I like that Jacksonville team as a whole. Everything about that team I love. I mean, I I wasn't sold on Trevor Lawrence, and then I ended
no,
up getting him as a free agent last year, and he saved my season. If I
mm,
didn't have him, I would not have won regular season. So Trevor Lawrence, I think that was year 2 for him. Year 3, I think he's going to really have it all tied together.
maturity.
He threw only a handful of interceptions. It was less than 10. He looked good. Then they have Calvin Ridley, who's coming off his suspension. People forgetting about that kid, and they have Christian Kirk as well,
Mhm.
who got paid big, and people are laughing about it, but it worked. They got Etienne, and then they also have Ingram at tight end. I like, and their defense was not bad.
Right.
Like they're not a star defense, but they did enough to keep them in the games. So it's like I like that Jacksonville team, and it's like when you look at it, it's like when you look at the division. It's like what the Colts, Tennessee, Jacksonville, and some other team that nobody needs. Houston. I mean, Tennessee's the only team that I look at was like, okay, that might be a threat, but are they? They so Jacksonville and I don't know. Like when I end up drafting this year, the question is, do I play with the formula now where receivers are king and go three stud receivers and
Mm,
just say, let me go ahead and I'll play the running back roulette throughout the year like I did last year? Or do I go receiver, running back, or receiver, receiver, running?
yeah.
There's a lot of thought to it.
So I've been seeing, and I say one of the podcasts I just listened to like a week ago or something, or a day or two ago, actually. It was like talking about a no RB or a hero RB setup.
Mm,
And no RBs just sounds pretty scary to me. I did a couple mock drafts doing it, and honestly, it was like sometimes, honestly, you can go in with the mentality no RB, but like I said, you have to be fluid. And then, like, literally everyone else is taking everything, and no one's picked a running back for like besides like the one or two, three studs, you know?
yeah,
And like all of a sudden, it's like all of the good receivers are gone, and you're like, what, 10th, And you're starting to think, like, well, if I don't get a good running back, I'll just get a really shitty at this, well, not shitty, but like a sub top
yeah,
receiver. So then you got to abandon the strategy, obviously, because it's better to go with the flow of the actual draft than it is to like literally, permanent marker your picks, you know.
yep,
So, but the idea of hero RB, like that's something I'm going to try for sure, at least in one of the things I play, where like basically my very first choice will be the very like if it's available, if I'm top
yeah,
five, call it, seven maybe, but five. I want to get one of those dope ass running backs. I want to get the McCaffrey. I want to get the Barkley. I want to get the, not Henry. I think he's too old, even though he's gonna prove me wrong. Um,
it
maybe
always happens that way.
and not Eckler because he's ranked way too high. I think people forget like he was amazing. He really was, but I don't know. I'm doubtful. I'm not saying he's not amazing. I'm not saying he's not great. I'm just saying he's not those other guys. So
Yeah,
I have more faith in like Chubb than I do Eckler.
I mean, I think when it comes to our strategies for these drafts, like you say, you kind of got to go with the flow. What I like to do is I have a plan,
Mm-hmm.
and then the plans change because your guy gets picked, so you got to go with the flow. Now I go
Mm-hmm.
with the flow, but then I come back to base. So let's say I'm picking seventh. Chances are I'm going to have to grab a receiver at number seven. Go with the best available receiver. Now, if that best available receiver is gone, it's like, well, fuck. What do I
Mm-hmm.
do here? Well, what's the flow? Oh shit. Kelsey's available. May as well play
Exactly.
Travis Kelsey right here. It's a weird spot, but you know what? Let's do something weird. And now that I got him, now let's go back to the plan. Because who was going to be my next pick? Well, my next pick would have been my next receiver anyway. Let's go ahead and grab that next receiver. Coming back down, I was going to grab a run. Oh, my running back's gone. Well, fuck it. And in my league, I know
top
people get
top
pissed.
QB.
Yeah,
Like it's one of those things where like, yeah, you definitely gotta be open. If you see that all of your really good choices are done, like all the wants are gone in your receiver and running back, it is totally for me viable that I'm like, fuck it. Okay, well then I'll get the top dog quarterback or I'll get Kelsey basically. It's only Kelsey to be honest. I don't really see what's his face being that same pool as Kelsey is. I know Andrews is like, oh, Andrews, but he just didn't do what Kelsey did, and I just feel like Kelsey's just special in that way. And I could be
yeah.
proven wrong. I have a lot of faith in Waller this year, also, and he's
Yeah.
undervalued right now. Um,
Well, I
he's like
think
what,
too
six.
with Andrews, he has some injuries, but I've been hearing Isaiah Likely over there in Baltimore. His name's been coming up a lot too. So that's someone to kind of keep a eye on as kind of a late round sleeper.
Hmm.
Um, but
Well, I like the
also
idea of likely because what's his face basically said he's like, oh no, I'm not worried about sharing. Wait till you see the 1-2 combo. Like
Yeah,
when he was injured and he's coming back, they're like, "Oh, so do you assume you're going to take all the reps?" And he was like, "Nah, I want to see both of us." Imagine that. Like he was open to the idea that you put both those studs out there, and all of a sudden he wants to win games. Is how I see it.
yeah,
Like
yes,
and that's really cool because when a player is like, fuck your fantasy team, I want to win it. I want to fucking win a Super Bowl. Like that's awesome to see, even though it screws us.
yeah. Well, like I think about it, like I know in any league I'm in, especially like the way that we set up our league, Steve and I, defenses. Most people are like, well, the defenses get drafted in the last round or second to last round. I was like, in our league, the defenses actually score pretty good. So I take defenses, and that's what saved me last year. I had Buffalo and New England,
Mm-hmm.
and those defenses, def, those two defenses rotating, and then Trevor Lawrence. Like I don't. Oh, I mean Jefferson. When he was on, but he wasn't always on. I think I
Right.
had like a 3 week span where he scored less than 10,
Oof.
and I was like, "Fuck, come on, dude." But Trevor Lawrence was there for me, and Buffalo's defense was there for me. So, and I'm not saying like go for defenses early, but when I get in a weird spot where it's like, okay, well, look, my contingency plans are falling through. Fuck it, I take a defense in like round 6 just to shake it up. But the thing is, once you do that, then people are like, oh
Oh,
fuck,
it's a landslide. It's a
yeah.
landslide of defense after that. Yeah, that's how it is. Like when the first person breaks the defense or even the kicker, like
Mhm.
you may be thinking kicker, whatever, dead last, and then all of a sudden it happens in the 10th or 11th, and then you see all the kickers go. At least the first five, because after the first five, there is a substantial
Yeah.
drop.
So in our league, because we're here in Maryland, there's at least 5 people that want to get Justin Tucker, and I do it out of spite every year. Just because I'm not a Ravens fan, but I will take Tucker out of
Uh,
spite. And so no, last year I think my buddy's wife took Tucker in the 4th round,
oh
and
wow,
she had to drop him,
no,
and I like for the bye week. And I picked him up, and I played without a kicker that week
oh wow, just
because
just
I
just
said,
to spite, just oh
yeah.
that's
Oh, and I
hate,
still won that.
that's hate
I
in
won
your
that
heart.
week.
Oh, that's hate in your heart.
Maybe, possibly, I don't know. But don't look, man. If you got because Tucker was still top 3, you know, and it's tricky with kickers because you just never really know. But Tucker's the one he's kind of the consistent one that's always top 3. But I'm excited. Like Steve and I are going to talk about it tomorrow. Tomorrow's episode is going to be a big one because we got to talk about fantasy football. We got to talk about this pizza. We're going to do a pizza review series over.
What?
Yeah, we're going to review
I
6
gotta
different
say
pizzas.
that is like the dumbest thing ever. I mean, I love you guys, but that is like the dumbest thing ever. How is this pizza? It's good, real good. Oh, how's this
So,
one? It's good. It's real good. It's like
so
pizza's pizza, man. Like they're all gonna be tens,
yes and
nines.
no, yes and no,
You want that
because
French pizza with a certain je ne sais quoi? Like what are we what are we looking at here?
so what we're gonna do is there's some like hole in the wall spots here, and
Okay.
then there are the chains. And it's really kind of a game between comparing those because you get people that are like, oh well, I love Pizza Hut, and they're like, I mean, good, that's good.
Mhm.
I know for me, Pizza Hut has fallen off over the years,
Oh yeah.
and and then
Well,
you
yeah.
got Domino's who changed the whole fucking recipe up, and it's like, okay, let's play with them. But then we got this one spot called Capri's around the corner, and
I don't
it's
know,
like
man.
kind of
They,
really
they they named it after a salad, dude.
so that you would think, oh, this can't be right, but it is though. The only thing is about those like hole in the wall spots. Well, there's some spots in Baltimore that they already know after the bar, have it ready, already have the cheese pizzas already lined up because that's what you're showing up for. Large cheese, $10. Go ahead, grab it and walk out. It's made, and then the traffic keeps moving. I don't know what they do with their dough, how they make it, but it's fucking magic. But there's a couple around here where, you know, the toppings are great, everything's great, but the dough, There's just something about it. And then there's Lido's, which is, kind of a DMV, specialty out here that we have. Steve and I worked at Lido's growing up.
Oh, okay.
And that's one of the things that I really want to get into discussion is kind of reviewing that because I know Steve still loves Lido's and I'm sick of Lido's. So I just really want to go in there and fucking
I don't
bash it.
know, man. I don't know. It feels like you're like sharpening a knife that realistically is not there. Like there's no victim. It's just like you're just out to stab anybody.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, got a lot of hate in my heart.
Yeah, let it out. You know what's tough is that for me, when I was okay, I am still doing my podcast and I will do another episode. I know I've been MIA, but this has been honestly thank you because this is really bringing me back into the moment and I'm realizing just how important this is for me and for my own
Good.
mental health. So I am going to put this as a priority for me, especially because I did
Good.
it today, and I did it today more so because of you. You know, like this week is what I call my hell week. It's like I have the most work to do. Like I
Mm.
literally was late a little bit today because I was still working, and I started at like 8 a.m.
Sheesh.
So like it's just really hard this week. But don't get me wrong, like in 2 weeks, I'm like playing ping pong at work. So like I love my job. It's fucking dope. Like I like what I do. I know, and I love who I work with and who I work for. So I'm totally stoked on it, right?
Good.
But at the same time, yeah, this week fucking sucks. And I still said yes, and I'm still here, even though it's hard on me. But
Oh, good.
but even then, it's super enjoyable. And I like, man, imagine if I did my own or another one with you or whatever on my easy weeks. That would be super enjoyable, much better for me. So I got to make it
Good.
important for me again because it is important to me. So yeah, I got to do it. Maybe we can, Aussie, 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 and maybe you can be my guest on mine sometime
You
this
let me
month.
know when, and I'll make the time. Trust me.
Cool,
Um,
man.
like I'll be honest. Like for this recording, like I told you last night, like I had fallen asleep, and even tonight, I was on my way out, and I was like, no, 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 stay awake, stay awake, stay awake, because I think part of my mindset too, knowing just you're having a tough time, and just like what,
Yeah,
let's get recording. Maybe get the ball rolling for him on his end, but not just for the podcast, but just for the sake of like chatting with a friend,
right,
because I think at the end of the day, for what I see with podcasts, is just that it is conversations with friends. And those are some of my favorite episodes. Are the episodes where we don't have a theme or a topic. We're let's just hit record, see where our
right.
conversations go. Versus like the episodes where I have to actually interview somebody
Right, right.
and get to
It's
know
good to
them.
sprinkle those in, I'm sure, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's fluid and enjoyable when it's like just a conversation.
yeah. When it's a friend on the podcast, that's like, okay, I can let loose. We can have fun. The conversations could go anywhere. But the thing is like having these episodes, these conversations, you know, it does a lot, I think, for myself personally. Like I said, I've been going through a
Same.
two to 3 week depression.
Yeah, same.
I can't figure, I think part of it is my lack of sleep.
That's a big
Definitely.
part. That's a big part, man.
But I think also too is I get into these ruts where I start thinking it's like, what am I doing anything for?
Hmm.
Why am I it's like when I was at my old job, it's like I go to work every day. What's the end game? What's my goal? What am I like? And my coach, he made a good point when I was talking with him a couple years back, and he goes, goals have to be measurable.
Definitely.
And I started thinking about that again with work. It's like at my old job, I had no measurable goals. At this job, I work with an individual with intellectual delays.
Hmm.
So our measurable goals are the things that he and I work on each day, whether it be, hey, don't cuss so much, or don't talk with food in your mouth, or
Hmm.
using manners, uh, you know, understanding boundaries, things like that. But those are measurable because you can see it. Hell, we're bowling today. And I says to him, when the other group is up bowling, stand back and wait, let them go, and then you take your turn. This was a huge thing for him because we've done this before and he didn't wait. I saw him today making a conscious effort to wait. I was
Nice.
like, holy shit, he's getting it. So, it's like having these measurable goals help get through the day. And I think, like, even with the podcast, is part of that too. Is like, what's a measurable goal with the podcast? I'm not so much worried about numbers
Right.
going up. I'm more so worried about the like how genuine the content is. Like, again, this conversation with us is genuine. We're just talking. We're all over the place, bouncing all over. Like, there at no point was there a hesitation or a thought of like, where do we go next?
Yeah.
It
Well,
just flowed.
no lie, I've missed you. So I got rid of my Instagram, like I didn't delete it or anything, but I basically sent like my, and I try to not be dramatic about it. I'm like, I'm not going to put some stupid quote about like blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
or like, we'll see who misses me or not. I wasn't out for a like reaction, I was just
yeah,
being
yeah,
cool because some of the people I talk to, like like I talk to on a daily basis there. It was like multiple times a day. I have conversations with who I consider friends. Like, have I ever met you in person? No, but I consider you a friend, and I have a few other people like that on Instagram. So, me posting that was kind of a like, hey, don't feel like I'm ghosting my friends, like people who just, happen to add me for whatever reason. And maybe I was like your mechanic or something when at a bike shop. Maybe you
yeah.
just know me from a work or a mutual acquaintance. Like that's cool. Like I don't think you're gonna care too much that I'm not there. Maybe you missed some of the memes I sent you, right? But ultimately, like I have real friends that I've grown to have on Instagram, and like we were saying earlier, some of them I don't really text except for on Instagram. Like that's where our communication is. And my cousin Ulysses, I only talk to him via Instagram. I don't text him. I don't call him. But he's my cousin, and I talk to him a lot on Instagram. So that's one of the relationships where, like, okay, that one kind of got hurt a little bit because we don't talk. You know, um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I gotta be honest, I don't miss Instagram. Like I don't,
Honestly,
and,
I
and I
I I get you.
and it's like I think at first I thought like, oh well, if I do a podcast again, I'm gonna have to put it on there to advertise it. I'm thinking, no, I don't, because like you said, like what is that? I mean, obviously it's nice to share your experiences and have the public like get something out of it. It's kind of like making music. You can make music in your basement and never share it at all. But once you share it and you actually affect somebody and they're like, hey man, I listened to you on the way to work and I really dug that one part. Like it means something. It's like cool, like, oh, I really like that. Like it's a human experience.
Yeah.
So I do think that I could still get that without having to share. I just feel like I can. I feel like if I'm on Spotify, so if you're on it, if you stumble on it, there's that experience, like so I don't I'm not sure if I'm going to ever get back on Instagram. I don't know for sure.
I can say one thing as far as the podcast and Instagram goes is um the off the saddles Instagram. Hold on to that and just put up one post, when a new episode drops. That's all you need. At the very least, that gives some, because those will pick up. Like
Right.
that picks up later on. Um, and people catch wind. Like there are times where, like, really this week I was like, dude, I might take a break. I think part of why I don't take a break is that it's part of my routine now.
Yeah.
So it feels weird for me not to post. But also I put up a meme to, or was it yesterday? I put up a meme this week. These motherfuckers will argue about anything, yo. It was a picture of the Jolly Green Giant, and it
Mhm.
says vegans doing vegan shit. And then a picture of the Hulk saying vegans doing jujitsu. And let me tell you, man, we're approaching 100 comments right now because
Oh
these
my
motherfuckers are
god.
arguing,
Oh my god.
and that's part of why I stick around because it's like I
It's
don't.
comedy.
Yeah, it's like you know what. But that's the thing. There's engagement. People are interacting. People are getting something from it somehow, some way. I don't know. But the thing is, it's like social media is a nightmare. It is a headache. And my teammate, he says to me the other day, what would I be doing without the internet?
Mhm.
What would we all be doing without the internet? And I told him, I was like, I think the National Enquirer and tabloid
Mm.
magazines would be fucking raking in bank right now.
Oh
But
yeah.
since we have the
Like they
internet,
used to. Like they used
mhm,
to. And don't forget, before the internet, there was National Enquirer and shit like that,
yeah,
but there was a lot more like funny thing. Like America's Funniest Videos was huge.
yes,
It was huge. So the desire for that specific content has always been there. It's just
hmm,
way more like deliverable now,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm not saying I miss all the memes, but I totally enjoyed all the memes. And I mean, literally, we became friends because of that. I think, like, I
yeah.
don't even think we had a conversation for a while. It was just like meme back and forth. Here's a meme, there's a meme, and all of a sudden there was like small talk in between it.
Well, like so right now I have like a fucking folder of memes I just pedal out to a handful of people. And as I'm scrolling down, I get to yours. I'm like, I'll save it.
Aw.
I'll save it because
Aw.
it's like I could flood you, and then you come back. You're like, fuck. There's
I had
50,000 memes.
1,000.
Or I can just say, "Oh, he's back. Okay, here's one." Start like spoon feeding them to you. Like here's two, right?
And then I
Okay,
get
here's
shot.
three. And then it's like, yeah, and it's like, okay, and now you're about to get shot. Watch out, heads up.
Watch out.
Um, but
Meme
yeah,
police.
like definitely, for the podcast, whatever you need from me, you let me know. Hell, even if you don't go back to promoting it on Instagram, let me know when you're dropping an episode. You
Mm.
know, I'll have it set on the thing so I get a notification when an episode pops up on Spotify, and then I'll promote it. It's just like, hey, motherfuckers, go check it out. Because I think right now, motherfuckers already think like I have fucking 8 podcasts. So
You
whenever I
do.
promote a pod, they're like, oh, this motherfucker again.
Wait, you really don't?
I'm considering 2 more right now.
You're the master
It's
of podcasts. When do we start ours?
shit. I mean, all right, here we go. Number 6. Well, so a friend of mine has a podcast, and they're starting it back up, and they're looking for a third. So I might jump on board with them for that. And then I'm considering um possibly doing one with Winter. It would be a once per month type pod.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, that put me at 5 right now. And it's like, in the nerd rate just kind of every so often. So it's like, man. But I think what it all boils down to is like, I just like to fucking talk. And most of the time, none of the shit makes sense. That's why I love Columpton, because
Yeah.
I get to go in there and just say nonsense. And it like, I recorded with my wife the other night, and I have the soundboard, and there's Channing Tatum from 21 Jump Street saying, "Ha, gay," in the middle of whatever she's talking. I don't know what she was talking about, but I pressed that button. She looked at me. The expression changed and anger came out. But the thing is, those are those moments. That's a genuine moment,
But
and like
I
I
laugh
got it.
about those things. I laugh about those things because I feel like in high school you would do that and she would think it was charming. And now that
Yes.
you're married, it's like, wait, that's not funny. It's like that's my wife too because
Well,
I've always been
she's
terrible.
pissed.
Oh yeah, I've always been terrible, and I feel like I'll say a joke that's kind of like that. Like she sets herself up, like she'll say something innocently enough. I don't know how my wife became like your typical like mom who's kind of oblivious to things, but she's like that mom. She's becoming that mom, like where she's like kind of oblivious to stuff. Like
As is mine.
innuendos, accidental innuendos and stuff like that. I feel like it's almost on purpose, but you could see that there's genuine like didn't mean anything weird or sexy about it. And then like I'll do like a that's what she said type joke to her, and she'll just be like, really? She'll look at
Yeah,
me and she just gets these eyes and like, oh fuck, I fucked up.
like I like those moments where, yeah, like I said, like I don't know what she was saying, but when I hit that button, she got angry, and I was like, should I take it out of the pot? I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm keeping it in there. But the thing is, we ended up recording again, and that wasn't in there. So I was
Uh,
trying to find another moment to piss her off in the next episode that we recorded. But the thing is, like I explained to her, I explained to a lot of people, when I record with her, when I record with Marilyn Phil, I know that they get uncomfortable when I go into, like, Dante sleep deprived crazy mode. So I do things on purpose to make Phil uncomfortable, and that's what I love about doing podcasts. And even with Steve, I love saying shit to make him uncomfortable. Like last week, I think we talked about cuck porn. Like I was well, and that's what I try to explain to him. Also, is like I tell him, it's like I say a lot of shit. 70% of it is not true, but I'm just saying it because I'm in the moment. I want to be a fucking dick about it. It's like, but then there's the other part where it's like, you don't know if it's true. Sometimes I might just be like, do you really watch cuckoo porn? I don't know. Do you think I do? It's like, well, you seem to know a lot about it. Well, I know a lot about porn. So, like, you just have to figure it out. Like, oh, wait a minute. It looks like Becca Rose saw my message.
oh,
Becca didn't reply though.
uh,
I'm actually gonna Google Becca later on.
oh,
Oh, I
Becca,
should send her a video call right now. View Facebook profile. When did she open this profile up? Um,
a month ago.
because yeah, I mean more than likely. You see, it's like she stole someone's pictures. That's all.
Mm,
Fucking picture thief. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. Um, Manuel,
yes,
it's always great talking with you, my friend. Like it it's basically like everybody has been listening in on a telephone conversation between us.
yeah, but not
Um
just any telephone conversation. The one with the cable attached to it in your room under the door, where you're like, no, you hang up first.
actually that's exactly what it is, because my cable for the fucking router is connected to the computer. Thanks to you, because you put me onto that.
Mm, I
Like
got you. I got you.
otherwise I'd still be in the dark ages using my phone to record podcasts. And they're like, dude, you should really get some new internet. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go with this cable. Our internet's really cheap, so you get what you pay for. So if you hardwire into the fucking router, you
Mm-hmm.
get good internet.
Yes, you
But
do.
but thank you for doing this episode. Um, and again, just the conversation and everything, just being a good friend. Before we get out of here, I know you're not back on social media right now.
No, I'm
But
not.
shout outs, mentions, anything you got for us.
Shout out to the episodes I have on Spotify, Off the Saddle podcast. There's a couple of episodes there. I am promising myself that I am going to do an episode, no matter how short or long, in August. So if you haven't heard my stuff yet and you thought this conversation, this randomness was cool, you're you're literally like there's a reason why I'm off the saddle and you're, off the mat. Like
Yeah.
I was inspired by you to do something for myself, for my mental health, to just speak and just do the same kind of format you do. And 100%, was it what is the biggest compliment? I forgot all the things.
Uh, imitation is the greatest
Imitation.
form of flattery, I think,
Yes,
or
that's what it
compliment,
is. It
something.
is. Yeah, my podcast is an imitation of you. Definitely done in my own style. As far as like, I do have a little bit more of a bicycle background. So instead of having a root in jujitsu, it's more of a root in bicycles and bicycle culture. So if you dug that and you kind of want to hear maybe 10% bicycle culture and then 90% conversation, Off the Saddle podcast on Spotify. You can catch up right now if you haven't heard any of them, and you can look forward to the next episode, or you know maybe not. I mean, not for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I can say for myself as a listener, it's opened my eyes to the cycling culture. I don't want to sideswipe many of the cyclers that I see now. They
Oh,
still
that's
annoy
good.
me.
That's good. That's
But I don't
good.
want to hit them with my car.
Oh,
So, and that's thanks to you. So they can. I'll have them listen and also send you thank yous because you saved their lives.
oh well.
Because I was for sure going to run them over once.
Happy to
Um,
help. Careful, some cyclists have guns. They'll shoot you.
fuck. When in Rome.
When in
Uh,
Rome.
but yeah, definitely. Yeah, everyone check out the podcast. I'll also share the links in the stories and in the show notes. Uh, as always, everyone else listening, thank you. If you have any questions, concerns, criticisms, always feel free to reach out. You can find me at Off the Mats Podcast or on bjj.wiki, both on Instagram. Um, I love to always give the shout outs here to Nerd Rage Radio, my crew over there, Bobby, Chris, Joe, the main three on the show, but also Marilyn Phil, Ricky Ticky, Raul the Machine, all the fellas over there. Thank you for everything you guys do. If you don't even listen to the podcast, Marilyn Phil, I know you're listening. And Ricky. So thank you guys. I also want to give a shout out to my other podcast. So you like horror? If you like scary movies, go check it out. We've been, getting into the woods with the horror by the decades, which Manuel, I believe you did the 30s with me or the 40s.
I think it was
Um,
40s.
so go check those out. We just got through with the 90s. We're going into the 2000s and the 2010s. So it's about to be a
It's
fun
gonna be
ride as
good.
horror is. We're starting to get to where we are currently. And let me tell you, fun times. The 90s ended up being a little bit more expensive than I thought it would have been. So definitely check that out. Who knows? You may hear the episode where my wife yells at me. I don't know which one I put out. There's two episodes. There's episode A and episode B, and I'm pretty sure she was pissed at me in both. So go check it out. And last but not least, big shout out to Manuel here, Manny Fresh, and the Off the Saddle podcast. Make sure you guys go check it out. And you won't be sorry. Otherwise, thank you as always to all of you. I love you. I appreciate the hell out of everyone. Thank you for being here for all 3 of these fucking years. We're going to the fourth year. We're gonna knock this out the park.
Let's
Thank you.
go.
Love you guys. You guys keep listening, and I'm gonna keep making these shows. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Deep with it. Now let me sing a song.